Karoline Leavitt sat at her usual corner table, though today she wasn't in her regular spot at the Oak Room. Instead, she found herself on the other side of town at a quaint little cafe called the Rustic Bean. This place held a special significance for her, far removed from the bustling crowds and the relentless glare of the public eye. As a prominent political strategist, Karoline was no stranger to the pressures of her career. Her days were filled with high-stakes negotiations, media appearances, and the constant weight of public scrutiny. The Rustic Bean was her sanctuary, a retreat where the aroma of freshly baked croissants filled the air each morning, blending seamlessly with the rich scent of espresso. The rustic wooden tables, the dim yet warm lighting, and the gentle hum of jazz playing in the background created a tranquil atmosphere she had grown to love. Every visit felt like slipping into a comforting embrace, a place where she could just be herself, away from the noise of the world and the weight of her public persona. This morning had been no different, at least at first. She had just finished a high-stakes meeting downtown, one that had left her feeling drained but victorious. The weight of decision-making, the careful maneuvering of words, and the ever-present scrutiny that came with her career had all melted away the moment she stepped inside the Rustic Bean. She had ordered her usual, an Americano, black, with no sugar, and settled into her seat by the window. The street outside was alive with the usual rhythm of the city, people rushing to work, cyclists weaving through traffic, and the occasional sound of a car horn breaking the otherwise peaceful morning. The world outside moved with its usual hurried pace, but within the cafe, time seemed to slow down. Karoline let out a slow breath, allowing herself a rare moment of peace, a moment where she could simply exist without expectation or obligation. She opened the book she had been meaning to finish for weeks. The weight of the pages, the faint scent of ink and paper. It was a simple pleasure she rarely had time for these days. She let her eyes skim the words, immersing herself in the narrative, but a subtle shift in the air around her pulled her back to the present. The quiet murmurs of conversation, the gentle clinking of ceramic cups, and the occasional burst of laughter from a distant table remained unchanged, yet something felt different. It was an unspoken tension, an almost imperceptible unease that settled over her like a faint shadow. She had learned to trust her instincts, and right now, they were telling her that something was about to happen. Then she heard it, the soft but deliberate sound of footsteps approaching her table, slow and measured, as if rehearsed. She glanced up, expecting to see the familiar face of the barista bringing a refill, or perhaps a friendly stranger looking to strike up a conversation. Instead, standing before her was a man she didn't recognize. His presence was different, formal, almost rigid. Beside him, a young server lingered hesitantly, her eyes darting between Karoline and the man next to her. The older man, whom Karoline immediately assumed to be the cafe's manager, wore an expression that was difficult to read, firm yet uncomfortable, as if he was about to say something he himself wasn't fully comfortable with. Karoline placed her book down gently, offering a polite yet curious smile. "Yes? Is there something I can help you with?" The young server took a step back as if anticipating an uncomfortable exchange, while the manager cleared his throat, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "I'm very sorry, ma'am," he began, his voice steady but impersonal, "but I'm going to have to ask you to leave." For a moment, Karoline thought she had misheard him. She blinked, sitting up slightly. "Excuse me," she said, her voice calm but tinged with confusion. "I don't think I understand." The manager, maintaining his composed demeanor, repeated, himself, this time with less hesitation. "I need you to leave. Immediately." The words hung in the air, surreal and dissonant against the cafe's otherwise serene ambiance. Karolina slowly looked around, noticing that other patrons had begun to take quiet notice of the exchange. Some stole quick glances before pretending to return to their own conversations, while others openly watched, waiting to see how the situation would unfold. The energy in the room had shifted, a quiet but palpable tension settling over the space. Karoline felt a flicker of something between disbelief and indignation rise within her. She was not the type to overreact, nor was she easily rattled, but something about the way this was unfolding felt off. "I've been coming here for years," she said, her tone still composed but with a growing edge of steel. "I've never had an issue before. Can you at least tell me why?" The manager's expression remained unchanged. "It's just an instruction I've been given," he replied, shrugging slightly. "I don't have the details." Karoline narrowed her eyes slightly, her patience thinning. She had dealt with enough bureaucracy, enough carefully worded deflections, to recognize when someone was avoiding giving her a direct answer. A familiar frustration bubbled within her, reminding her of past encounters where she had been dismissed, without explanation. "An instruction? From whom?" He hesitated. "I can't say." Karoline exhaled sharply, shaking her head. "Well, that's not good enough," she stated plainly. "If you're asking me to leave a place I've been coming to for years, I deserve to know why." A brief silence stretched between them. The manager shifted uncomfortably, looking as though he wished to be anywhere else but here. The young server, still standing awkwardly beside him, looked down at the floor, her fingers twisting the hem of her apron. Tension crackled in the air. Nearby customers exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued. Some whispered amongst themselves, while others simply observed, waiting for Karoline's next move. Karoline could have argued. She could have made a scene, but she was someone who preferred precision over chaos, logic over impulse. Instead of raising her voice, she simply pulled out her phone and dialed the one person she knew could resolve this in seconds. Elena, the owner of the Rustic Bean. The phone rang twice before Elena's warm, familiar voice answered. "Karoline, what a pleasant surprise. How are you?" Karoline didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Elena, I'm at your cafe right now, and your manager is trying to throw me out." There was a brief pause before Elena's voice returned, noticeably sharper. "What? That can't be right. Hold on. Let me fix this. Can you put him on the phone?" Karoline extended the phone toward the manager, who hesitated before reluctantly taking it. He stepped aside, murmuring into the receiver as his expression shifted from rigid professionalism to evident discomfort. It was clear that whatever Elena was saying was not in his favor. After a few tense moments, he handed the phone back to Karoline, clearing his throat. "I deeply apologize," he said, his tone now markedly different. "This was a misunderstanding. Please enjoy your time here." Karoline took the phone and brought it back to her ear. "Elena? I am so sorry, Karoline," Elena said, sounding genuinely distressed. "This should have never happened. I'll make sure my staff understands this was unacceptable. Next time, coffee's on me." Karoline appreciated the sentiment, but this wasn't about free coffee. It was about principle. "Thank you, Elena, but this is about more than just a simple mistake. People need to be held accountable for how they treat others." "You're absolutely right," Elena admitted, "and I'll make sure this never happens again." As Karolina hung up, she glanced around the cafe once more. The quiet murmur of admiration in the air was unmistakable. Some nodded in silent respect, while others, perhaps inspired by her unwavering stance, seemed emboldened. With a small, knowing smile, Karoline returned to her seat, picked up her book, and turned the page, her morning once again firmly in her control. She couldn't help but wonder if this incident was isolated or if it was a sign of something larger. Either way, she knew she would be more vigilant in the future. The Rustic Bean had always been her sanctuary, but even sanctuaries could have their cracks. She resolved to keep an eye on those cracks, to ensure they didn't widen. What would you have done in Karoline's place? Share your thoughts in the comments.